Will King Derrick Henry rumble his way to a third straight rushing title? Wild says yes. It is time to talk football. Hey, we're only 57 days out from the start of the season. NBA Finals back in action tonight. Priority number one for the Suns, slow Giannis down. But how? We discuss. And Tom Brady, tossed into kids, but in true Brady style, it came wrapped up in a tease as the old Patriots gang getting back together. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna, Nick, Brandon, Kevin, Ross. Nick, Brady, he's got jokes on jokes on jokes. He's doing the opposite of going away. He's leaning in.
Yeah,
he's here to make your life better.
Enough. I'm not here for the Brady content. 5 more years?
Okay,
5 more years. 5?
Liability.
Here we are. All Brady all the time, but not right this split second, because we got to start with some Team USA basketball. Back in action against Argentina last night, coming off somewhat embarrassing back-to-back losses to Nigeria and Australia. And I only threw in the word somewhat to lessen the blow. Those were bad losses. But last night, they looked like the team we expected to see. KD and Beal each had 17, and Pop's squad rolls to an effortless 28-point win. Nick, you watched this team dominate last night. Are you done worrying now about them?
No, listen, I'm not done worrying about them, but I think it's pretty simple what they need to do. Now, this is not the best constructed roster. And I think Trae Young, who has sent out a few, cryptic tweets about this, is watching saying, maybe you could use me. And to be honest, they could use Trae Young. They could have used Malcolm Brogdon, who they could have had on the team. Hell, I think they could use Mike Conley. They need some playmaking. I know a lot of people are saying, and they need better centers. But the fact of the matter is, most of the best centers in the world are not American players. People are like, oh, what about DeAndre Ayton after the finals? DeAndre Ayton's from the Bahamas. Rudy Gobert, who's good in this format because there's no defensive 3 seconds, obviously from France. Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, all of our best centers. Karl-Anthony Towns even, not even because he played for the Dominican. So there are some limitations as far as what you could do with the big man position, but they could have been better at the guard position. But this is who they have. And they're really missing Brandon's guy, James Harden, who's supposed to be on this team, but hurt his hamstring and instead is overseas in Paris with his bestie, Lil Baby. So here's what you do, Brandon. Yeah. You say, hey, let's look at
Lil Baby.
The KD's, his bestie, Lil Baby. That's right. You look at the KD Steph Warriors and you say, we're going to run that offense. We're going to do a ton of KD and Dame pick and rolls with Bradley Beal playing the Klay Thompson role. Draymond Green can play the Draymond Green role. It's good for him. He gets to play himself. And you're going to need Bam to add some toughness and some defense. And you're going to say to Jeremy Grant, remember what you did when you were with Denver, not with Detroit, but with Denver? That's the role we want you to play then. Exactly right.
That's right.
And then Zach LaVine and Tatum can be scoring off the bench. Those are your 8, plus when you get Booker and Middleton and Holiday. Like, that's got to be the path, and that's the way to do it. And I think they steadied themselves yesterday, so I think that's the path forward for Team USA, Brandon.
Yeah. Listen, someone has to make a sacrifice. Hell, Magic Johnson, those guys back on the Dream Team made a sacrifice. I don't know if it was Wilds or Chris Bouchard yesterday talking about, that's the thing. You have all these guys, and they're just shooters. They're the number 1 guys on their team. Who's going to do the dirty work? Who's going to go down there and say, I'm going to be PJ Tucker. I'm going to lock him down. That's it. I'm okay with 5 points. I'm going to grab 10, 15, 20 rebounds a game. Who is that guy? So, look, are the concerns, is it time to put it to bed? Absolutely not. I do trust what Kobe said just 2 years ago, that everyone in the world has caught up to us, Wilds. I truly believe that. Now it's about us understanding that you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Let me ask you a question. Have they played Spain yet? Have they played Slovenia yet? You know, Nick's dope Slovenia stepson or whatever he calls it, whatever you call it. Yeah. No, like they're not out of the woods yet, but this is a great step forward. Like this is what they were supposed to do, like the last 2 games. But at the end of the day, this team should be a team embracing small ball. And what Nick said is making sure those guys are sacrificing and getting it done and letting the guys be the guys.
Yeah, they're not out of the woods, but they're in a clearing. They're on a nice walking path, but there's still plenty of mosquitoes and chances that we go back into the woods. So after watching the game yesterday, I think we can put one thing to bed. They're not going to be a bad team. The question is, are they going to be a good team or a great team? Yesterday, they played like a great team. If we can show the graphic here, Pepper. They shot better from 3. We rebounded better. We moved the ball better. We finally started passing the ball. We had 27 assists, 108 points. But here's the thing.
Smiled better.
And you know what, Jenna? I am over 40 years old, so it's not it's not in my nature to take shots at old people like myself. But when Luis Scola is your leading scorer for the Argentina.
Looks great.
He scores 60. He doesn't look
great.
He looks great as in like a silver fox way. Like he should be doing like ads for like a cool older man barber shop.
That's the best way to look great, Kevin Wild.
He's slimmer than he was.
That's the best way to look great.
That's correct. Go ahead.
There's a limit to how excited I can get. There's just a limit. There are successful 41-year-old basketball players. Unfortunately, they're podcasters. Quentin Richardson's 41, Matt Barnes 41, Richard Jefferson's 41. So I'm only going to be a certain amount of excited. The fact that we beat a team led by a 41-year-old guy. Jenna, France coming up later this month. Then I'll start to get excited if we can beat.
Ouais, je sais. Non,
France is really good.
Heureuse pour ça.
France, I don't know what Jenna's saying. She's the only one who speaks French on the panel. France is really good. Wilds poo-pooed the idea that Slovenia could create problems. I think he's wrong. I heard Wild say, Slovenia. No. Luka's never lost with the Slovenian national team. He and Dragic helped them win Eurobasket in 2017 when Luka was just a kid. So I think Slovenia actually is like a real, shadow contender. But Wilds, I got one question for you about roster construction. So I get Trey's a little upset because Lloyd Pierce is on this staff and they didn't pick Trey and they obviously need playmaking. But again, they thought they were going to have Harden. There was some controversy surrounding kind of like low-key controversy, the Kevin Love pick, and Kevin Love's been terrible. My question is this. Why the hell is Zion not on this team? Why is he not there? They're going to play small. If they're going to the idea wait your turn for who? For what? Zion's not going to add, a ton of size. I get that. He's an undersized 5 when he plays small ball 5. But you need those guys. Ja, Zion, and Trey were among the last cuts, if you will. I actually don't think Ja is super useful for this team. I think he's a great player, but they have guys that can do what he does. Trey obviously would have been useful. But it's now, and I know there's a little Monday morning quarterbacking, indefensible to have one of your bigs be Kevin Love and not Zion. Not only from an interest and excitement standpoint, but from a productivity and energy standpoint, Zion should be on this basketball team.
Are we 100% sure that Zion was wanting to play and that we still don't have any vestiges of
he was in the
sort
pool.
Of a load management?
I mean, he was in the pool and he was one of the last people left off. So I mean,
that's silly then.
So it is to me. There is some roster. There's some roster stuff, and again, I want to make it clear on the Harden thing, Jenna. I am not at all. I was joking about the little baby stuff. I'm not criticizing him for not being there. Right. He's dealing with an injury. Right. The reason I keep bringing it up is I think they thought, well, our playmaking is taken care of because James Harden's going to be playing 30 minutes a game when it matters, and then James Harden ended up not being able to play.
Right.
Brendan, can I ask you a quick question?
Look, I mean,
I know what Wild said about.
Shoot.
You know what? Go ahead. I'll ask you after. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, you know what Wild said about the roster and who their competition was, and who they played and whether they should have gotten up for it, kind of felt like this team needed that win. Kind of felt like they could have played anyone. They just kind of needed to get that under their belt, right? Like what Broussard was saying yesterday, they have to figure out how to play like a cohesive unit, and then they can move on with that confidence and see what they could do. From an athlete standpoint, isn't that sort of what yesterday was about for them?
100%. I mean, look, we know there's different rules over there, all right, and there's a bit of an adjustment, and those guys need a bit. They need a slap in the face. Like sometimes when you're at the top, you know, you just walk in the gym, you think you're just going to run those boys off the court, and that's not true. You have to come with it. And I don't care where you're at. You can go play pickup basketball in St. Bart's with some kids. You got to come with it. There ain't no more, oh, we're from the USA and we're going to run through everybody. You got to think about this, Jenna. Do you want to be the ones responsible for creating the Redeem Team 2? Think about that. Do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be a group of coaches, a group of players that was responsible for Redeem Team 2? Absolutely not. You don't want to be the 2004 team. I'm sorry, LeBron James, Nick, your boy, but he led them to a team that was dubbed Team Nightmare. So
He's 19.
Yes,
He did not lead them. He's 19 years old.
Leader of the team. All right, well, the USA gets another shot at Australia in their next Olympic tune-up, and that'll be Friday afternoon. How about the guys that are still playing in the NBA right now, at least right this second? Talking the final, Suns have one job to do tonight, stop the Greek Freak. Giannis talked yesterday about teams throwing the wall at him to try and slow him down. Listen to this.
It is a compliment that there got to be 3 people in front from stopping me to get in the paint and building that wall. But yeah, I hate it though. I'm not gonna lie, I hate it, but then at the end of the day, you gotta figure out the way to play through it.
The NBA Finals continue tonight. Bucks Suns Game 4. If you've been watching, you know Phoenix has had no answer for Giannis in the last 2 games. Back-to-back 40-point nights. Chris Paul talked about the challenge of slowing him down yesterday. Take a listen.
And he's a 2-time MVP. You know, regardless how he score, he do it. You know what I mean? He come down there, he dunk some more, and he shoot layup. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, and I think you got to figure out a way to stop him. You know, we have to try to figure out a way to slow him down, and for us, you know, slowing down or not for us is win the game. Win the game. Like I don't care what the stat sheet looked like after the game, win the game. So for him, I mean, he's a 2-time MVP, so we got to deal with him as such.
As said by Brandon Marshall the last couple weeks, as Brandon will tell you, Brandon, the Suns' chances of slowing down Giannis tonight are blank.
Didn't I tell you guys? Do you not listen to me, please? It's all on the Greek, the Freak. I don't care what you guys call him, Greek Freak or whatnot. That's what I call him, the Greek, the Freak. No one's slowing him down. Chris Paul just said it. Thanks for validating me, Chris Paul. I've been saying that. He can score 40, 50 points. And if those guys are doing what they're supposed to do, Booker doesn't get benched, Ayton doesn't foul out in the first quarter, then they win the game. So what needs to happen is Ayton needs to bounce back, Booker needs to bounce back, CP3 needs to be more aggressive. You're not slowing down the Greek, the Freak. He's right. Build a bigger wall. It doesn't matter. He's still going to get 30. He's still going to get 12, 15 boards, Nick. What do you want to do? Build a bigger wall. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's going to ball out.
That's right. That's right, and that's why Milwaukee's going to win the title, because you can't stop their best player. So it's 0%. You're right, Brandon. You have been saying it, which is why I've never understood why you're like, Giannis obviously will get an easy 40. Suns in 5. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on, I don't understand. But I agree with the first part. Giannis will get an easy 40. 0% is my answer. It's like the old, for our older viewers, the old Blutarski. 0.0% is their chances of slowing him down. They can't slow him down. He's not even fully healthy, and he's had a Shaq-like stat line
he's fully
in these
healthy.
finals so far.
Yeah, right.
So, well, I mean,
he's fully healthy.
I don't know. Oh, look. Oh, how about that? I didn't even know we were going to have it. That's Shaq in his 3 Finals MVPs. What's most amazing about this? Look at the minutes. Giannis is giving you almost identical production to Shaq in 7 fewer minutes per game. So, yeah, listen, there's no slowing him down, Wilds. It's 0%. There's nothing they can do.
Okay. All right, so I'm saying it's still Ayton dependent. I think the Suns want Ayton to guard Giannis. Game 1, guard him 47% of the time. Game 2, guard him 52% of the time. And this is courtesy of my new friend, Owen Phillips, who I saw on Twitter. So good job, Owen, for providing me this. I retweeted you, buddy. In Game 3, 18% of the time. So, Brandon, I think you're right that Ayton needs to stay in the game, not get fouled out. But I don't think the Bucks are going to make it that easy. I think the Bucks are going to target Ayton, draw him into foul trouble, not only because it affects his defense, also affects his offense. Once he's out of the game, I think the Suns' offense gets a little funky. And before we go, Pepper, I'm just going to make a directorial decision here. Thank you to put everybody back on screen. Solid work from you, Brandon, in the commitment to, driving viewership for the game. Your background says Suns, but your outfit says Bucks. I love it. It's a special. You got the whole NBA Finals there and that one little box.
I'm changing. I'm changing in a break. I'm changing in a break, Jenna. I'm changing right now. I'll be back.
Okay,
I'll be back.
I'm
going to change clothes.
But I just got a question for Wilds, because I hadn't heard those Ayton numbers. You said, so the game Ayton guarded Giannis the most was Game 2, guarded him 52% of the time? Yes. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, 40 points.
Giannis went for 40 in that game, right? He did go for 40 in that game as well.
And I'm just saying, it seems like a changing game plan, and they lost the game when he guarded him.
Was there.
All right, well, while Brandon thinks about an outfit change, we're going to do some weird and wonderful from our national pastime. How about the All-Star game last night? Top 3, Vlad Guerrero Jr. sending this ball into orbit. 22-year-old became the youngest All-Star Game MVP ever last night. Tatis, cannot believe it. It's pretty wonderful. Kevin Wilds, what else you got from this game?
We'll start with the weird. We know there's a long connection between quarterbacks and baseball. Jameis and Kyler, Mahomes.
Oh, my goodness.
Not Peyton Manning. Under-delivers here. I was shocked. I thought we were going to see something great from Peyton Manning. Maybe it's a bit for his, his show. But overall, disappointing.
He's in his garage
practicing one of the great quarterbacks of all time.
Oh, that's terrible.
Moving on to the wonderful. Los Angeles Angels drafted all pitchers. Round 20 of the Major League Baseball draft concluded yesterday. Angels had an eventful few days. They drafted Sam Bachman, number 1, out of Miami, Ohio, his first-round pick. He was actually number 9. Then they just said, you know what? Let's draft 19 more pitchers. Matt Swanson, Angels scouting director, shed some light on the strategy. Today, really about targeting pitching. It's obvious. We took 20 pitchers. So there you go. That's the weird and the wonderful from the
Is this weird or what is it? Was that weird or was that the wonderful? Sorry. Which one was that?
That was weird.
Pitchers?
Dealer's
More
choice.
branding.
Hey, we got to head to Philly. Got to talk some Ben Simmons. Look, one of them's got a hit, right? Have we seen the last of Ben Simmons in a Sixers jersey? To be discussed next, first things first, on a Wednesday morning.
They don't hit, Jenna. They're pitchers in the American League. They don't hit.
Back here with Chris Broussard, who we just learned in the commercial break had a rapping career before becoming a basketball aficionado. More on that not today. Talking the future of Ben Simmons today in Philadelphia, or maybe the lack thereof. Report from Shams yesterday said the Sixers have opened trade discussions for the 3-time All-Star Ben Simmons. Also said Philly's focused on getting an All-Star caliber player in return to pair with Joel Embiid. Well, why wouldn't they? So, Broussard, we know what Simmons can do, but we also know what Simmons cannot do. What is the better option for the Sixers? Keep him or trade him?
Well, look, Jenna, this was the case a few weeks ago when the stories came out that, we're going to make it work with Ben. We're not trading him. Nobody believed that because it's not a black and white situation. It's not a we absolutely must trade Ben Simmons, nor is it a we absolutely must keep Ben Simmons. If I can get the right package for him, I'm definitely trading Ben Simmons. And I'm going to say this, and this might lean towards you got to move him, but if they bring back this roster as it is, barring major injuries to the other contenders in the East, this Philadelphia team's not reaching the finals. They're a broken team. Not so broken that I'm just going to blow it up and trade Ben for nothing, but they are broken and they need to improve dramatically to win the East. My first call, if I'm Daryl Morey, I know maybe it's a long shot. I'm calling Portland and I'm saying, what kind of package do I need to build around Ben Simmons to get Damian Lillard? And honestly, if I'm Damian Lillard, I've got my eye on Philadelphia. I mean, what better place is there for Dame Dollar than to go play with Joel Embiid? He doesn't have to change his game much, just needs to make sure the big man eats, but he can still do the perimeter thing like he does. If he goes to, people are talking about Golden State for Damian Lillard. That'd be great, but a lot of changes there in terms of his game and all that stuff. So that's one thing. I like the terminology Philly's putting out there, all-star caliber, because that broadens things. Malcolm Brogdon, not an all-star, but all-star caliber. De'Aaron Fox, same thing. So he doesn't have to be a guy that's made an all-star team, but a guy that potentially could. So, like I said, I'm not just giving away Ben Simmons, but I'm certainly looking. There's no question about it. Now, it depends. His value depends on who you talk to. Because some people really still like him and think you can build around him, put 4 shooters around him and kind of build around him like the Bucks did with Giannis. Others think he's mentally fragile, he doesn't work that hard, and his motor is so inconsistent that he can't be Giannis or close to Giannis because some games Ben's just not as aggressive as you'd like him to be. So not everybody's in love with Ben Simmons, but some people are.
But enough people are in lust with the idea of what he could be that he is an incredibly attractive trade piece. 24. Not just a criminally underrated Kiefer Sutherland show, also how old Ben Simmons is. 24 years old, with 4 years left on his contract, and an All-NBA team under his belt, and should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year. You are not trading him for a Malcolm Brogdon-centric package. It is Bradley Beal, or it is Damian Lillard, or it is Ben Simmons back on the Sixers. So that's it. Like, that's what now, it's not 1-for-1 for Dame, but luckily the Sixers have drafted well. Tybal is very valuable. Tyrese Maxey is valuable. And when you look around the landscape, whether it's Dame, Beal, or All-NBA, disgruntled All-NBA player to be named in the future that comes available that we don't expect, who can create an attractive package in a city and a team those guys would want to go to, meaning the player that is demanding out? So Oklahoma City has all the picks in the world. Portland is not going to send Dame to Oklahoma City. They're just not going to do him like that. New Orleans has nearly all the picks in the world. And New Orleans also has Brandon Ingram. They are a real contender as far as to be able to trade Ingram and picks for a star, but the star has to want to go there, which means the star has to be comfortable, A, that team's going to be able to contend, B, that Zion is going to be there long term. Philly is a big market with an MVP caliber guy already in place. So I'm not reporting this, but I know this. They are not trading Ben Simmons at his low point value-wise for a B-level player. They're just not doing it. So if Dame comes available, they will be at the front of that list. If Beal comes available, they will be near the front of that list. If neither of those guys come available, Brandon, they are comfortable starting the season with Ben and Joel together and biding their time, which is, in my opinion, exactly what they should do. Because you trade Ben for Brogdon and pieces, you're not winning the East. Like, you got no and Brogdon's a good player, but that doesn't get you where you need to be, Brandon.
A level, B level, doesn't matter. If they trade Ben Simmons, it will be the biggest regret this organization will ever have. I'm saying it like that. Why?
Wow.
Because this kid played 1 year of college basketball. This dude, we know, is an all-time NBA defensive player. We know that. So we're talking about a kid who have been afraid to fail in front of people. So yes, we're talking about mental right now. Coach better. Pull more out of him, Doc. You've been here for 9 months. Get more out of him. Sit down with him, Sam Cassell. Talk to him. Get more out of him. Now we're talking about Ben. Ben got to do more. He knows that. But we're talking about a guy, you look a guy in his eye, you say, okay, do you want to get better? Because we know who you are. We know what you're capable of doing. In practice, when you have guys coming in and trying to take your spot, you shoot all the time. And you shoot the ball well. And that's coming from people that I know in the organization. We're talking about janitors and security guards that watch these pickup games. He's afraid to fail. So what he needs to do is actually work on his game, which he said after the season, he said, I'm not going to the Olympics because I need to work on me. So you know this is a dude that looked in the mirror and said, I know I need to do better. Now, Wiles, this organization needs to support that because we're talking about a dude that can shut down anybody any given night. We're also talking about a dude that is one of he's a top 25, top 30 player in the NBA. What are you going to get back? Now, Nick, I heard you say, Dame. If you get Dame, okay, let's go for it. But Bradley Beal, I would even question that. Like, you need to make this work. He's 24, coach. Yeah, he's in the NBA. We know that. We know he's an all-star. But what we stop coaching? We stop developing guys when they make it to the big leagues? No.
Okay, so Brandon, let me just dig in on that. Brett Brown was like, hey, I want Ben Simmons to shoot a 3 a game. It felt like Brett Brown put all the support behind Simmons. Everybody wanted him to shoot. Everyone, the fans wanted him to shoot. Right. The coach said, I don't care if you miss it. I just want you to shoot. It felt like a foundation of confidence to build your game upon. And Ben Simmons was like, nah, not going to do it. So I don't know, certainly they can coach better, right? Everyone can do better. But don't you think from a Ben, I know we've been talking about it from the Sixers' point of view, from Ben's point of view,
right?
Don't you think that there's tremendous value in Ben getting a fresh start somewhere and just a clean break, turn the page so there isn't all this emotional baggage, this weight, the passing up on the dunk and the bad free throws. In an environment like Philadelphia, which is known for being pretty harsh on players, they've been super supportive of Ben publicly, cheering him and rooting for him and wanting him to shoot. So don't you think that there is some value to him going somewhere else and just starting brand new, totally fresh?
Right. Yeah, there's always value in when it's done, and moving on and going somewhere else with a clean slate. But that's the easy way out. We always see that in professional sports.
Okay.
These are relationships. We're signing contracts here. In a relationship, you're dating somebody or you're married. What do you do when things aren't going right? You sit down and you try to work it out. Hell, you may even need to bring in a counselor. So you don't just take the easy way out year after year after year. And it's not just a NBA problem. It's an NFL problem. It's a professional sports problem. Sit down, figure it out, coach, develop, player. Look yourself in the mirror and think about what you need to do. Perfect examples is James Harden. What did we do just 2, 3, 4 years ago? Oh, he's ball dominant. Oh, he can't play with other people. What else did we say? Oh, he doesn't want to play any defense. And then last year in the bubble, what did we see James Harden do to the detriment of himself and his team? Actually listen to everybody in the media and start working on those things. Now he took that to New York with the Brooklyn Nets, and he started to sacrifice. He started to get other guys involved. He started to play defense. Hell, he was the best defender on their team. So I use James Harden as an example, Chris, because there's sometimes players where they look at themselves, they hear everybody else, and they say, you know what, they may be right, let me work on me. So my thing with the organization is, won't you sit down with Ben Simmons and figure out if he's in a space right now where he's willing to listen and if he's willing to learn. That's what they need to do.
Brandon, I'm not high on the Harden comparison to Simmons situation, but I think you made some good points. Look, Doc Rivers is getting a pass because of Ben Simmons' struggles. Everybody's piling on Ben, so nobody's looking at Doc right now, so that's a decent point. But here's the thing, and you talk to people about this around the league that are close to the situation. The question with Ben Simmons is, does he want to be a superstar or does he want to be a celebrity? Okay, Ben has shown, a lot of people feel like he just wants to be a celebrity. He's got his max money. He's good. He's making all-star teams. And he's been content with that. Because the fact is, Brandon, he hasn't worked hard enough on his game. He hasn't worked hard enough on his mental. Like, you notice, if you go see a sports psychologist or somebody, it's only going to help if you really open up and buy in, right? If he doesn't share and doesn't talk about what the real issue is with why he won't shoot, it's not going to help him. And he has talked to people. So I'm with you in that this dude has great potential. But he has not shown, even going back to LSU, you mentioned 1 year in college, that dude was by far the best dude in the country. Why didn't they win? Why didn't they win? Does he have the intangibles too? So I've got major questions. If I can get a good package, and let me just say this lastly, Bradley Beal, Washington, you ain't putting Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook together. So unfortunately, I mean, maybe a 3-team deal, but that doesn't seem to be a possibility.
Okay, so Chris, everything you said, 100% right. Obviously, you've been covering the game for 57 years. Okay, you're an old dinosaur in this game. You know everybody in the league. So everything you said is 100% right. And so here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I know, but I'm saying I know. Everything you said, Ben Simmons is looking at this and saying, you know what, they're right, and I need to work on that. From working harder, and also I need to shoot. So what do I need to do? That's why I'm saying that this will be the biggest regret that they have ever made, because you shit this kid out now. Nick, what's going to end up happening is he's going to go somewhere else, and he's going to light it up. I promise you. Now, lighting it up for Ben Simmons ain't 30, 35. But what it is being able to impact the game offensively and continue to do what you're doing defensively.
And that's good. And by the way, that's why you don't trade him for 50 cents on the dollar. But everything you're saying could be true, and it could also be true that even if he takes these steps we're talking about, that he and Embiid are not a great basketball fit together. And so the other reason that I think the Sixers, listen, these playoffs have been disastrous for Philly, obviously, with one exception. I think Giannis's play, and if they win the title, helps Ben Simmons' trade value. Because what's the thing we say with Giannis? Don't shoot. Actually, Giannis, we know you can't shoot. We don't want you to. Stop taking those 3 threes a game. Quit it. And Ben isn't Giannis, but there are some similarities. And I do wonder if teams around the league are saying, okay, give us 90% of Giannis, or whatever Ben is, and we will build a team similar to how Milwaukee has built one, where he can be our best player, but not always our focal point. And so I do think that when you see what Giannis is doing, there are teams saying, all right, we're not going to get Giannis. It's almost impossible to draft a guy like Giannis. Like, you hit 1 in a million. But there is a similar type player who we know is available right now. And he's only 24, and we would have him under contract control for 4 years, and we would have time not only to develop him in our sports development, sports psychology, all that system, but also, Jenna, we would have time to surround him with a team built around him, similar to what Milwaukee has. Yeah. So I do think that Giannis's run, in an odd way, makes Ben more attractive to a team that is trying to take the next step.
Listen, he can look right next to him to Joel Embiid, who also had a lot of aspects of his game he needed to work on over the last couple of years, and who did put the work in the offseason, and you see it's now paying off this year, at least this past year. All right, speaking of people who are playing slightly underneath their potential perhaps of late, let's talk some Devin Booker. Will the Suns bounce back tonight in Game 4? We'll ask these guys next if Devin Booker can get back into it. But first, check out Tom Brady poking fun at his old Patriot pals.
You ready, Welker?
Let's go!
Go!
Nice catch, Wesley!
Throw, Tommy. You ready, Edelman?
You already know!
Go!
Nice catch, Jules!
You ready, Amendola?
Yes, sir!
Go! Yeah!
Good job, go left!
Where you at, Brook? Let's go!
Back here, first things first, with Chris Broussard. We're setting the table for NBA Finals Game 4 tonight. Suns coming in with a 2-1 lead in the series, and if Phoenix has any chance of going up 3-1, they're going to need to get better from Devin Booker. Shot just 3 of 14 Sunday night. Book was asked yesterday about how he plans to bounce back from that shaky performance. Take a listen.
Short memory, just move on. Been there before, you know what I'm saying? So just understanding that, understanding the game, understanding situations that I've been through, and just trusting the work that you've put in. As simple as that. But, you know, my main objective out there is to win the basketball game. No, I'd say it's a good pressure. You know what I'm saying? These are the moments that you prepare for, and that you train so hard for, is what we're in right now. So, you know, you have to be excited about it.
Maybe. Let's see. Broussard, can the Suns win tonight if Devin Booker doesn't live up to that pressure that he's excited about, if he doesn't have a bounce-back game?
No. He needs to play big. Look, yeah, CP3 could go berserk and score 30-something. Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, these guys could get hot from 3. But I don't see that happening. I don't see this team winning without Devin Booker having a big-time game. In their wins in these playoffs, he averages 28 points on 47% shooting. In their losses, he averages 21 points on 32% shooting. Now, the good news for Phoenix is that virtually every time he's played poorly as far as shooting the ball, he's come back with 25 or more points in the next game. So they need Booker to do that, and I think he will, because we've talked about it ad nauseum. The Suns do present matchup problems for the Milwaukee Bucks, to the point where Devin Booker averaged 27 points against Milwaukee in the 4 previous games before Game 3. So I expect Booker to come back and play large. Chris Middleton defended him well, but I don't know that Middleton can do that again. He contested his shots. I think obviously Monty Williams is going to make some adjustments to try to make sure he can get Booker a little bit more space. But I think that'll do the trick, and Booker will have a big game.
I think he's going to have a monstrous game, Chris. And just like how we're like, Jrue Holiday needs to come out and be more aggressive. And we saw the opening shot. You're like, oh, you guys want me to be more aggressive? Bam, bam. He just starts shooting, making his own shot. Well, I think Chris Paul's #1 priority is to get Book going. And Nick, I don't think they're going to stop feeding him the ball until he's got, you know, a handful of buckets underneath his belt. And then once he gets hot, I think it could get very scary for Milwaukee. We've talked about it before. Giannis is giving you a consistent 30 and 15. Booker's been more up and down, but we've yet to see a truly explosive game from Devin Booker, and I think we could be on the verge of it here.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that in these finals, because if Booker gets going, the Bucks will just put Jrue Holiday on him. In this series, Devin Booker has taken 12 shots with Jrue Holiday on him. He has made 1 of them. He has scored 3 points with Jrue Holiday guarding him. Now, Jrue Holiday can't guard Booker and Chris Paul. He's having to trade off. And so Booker has done some of his work on Middleton and Tucker. And again, Booker hasn't, aside from the second half of Game 2, he hasn't been efficient against anybody. But he is not drawing dead against the others the way he has been against Jrue. The reason that I am so confident in Milwaukee, despite being down 2-1, is there is only one thing we know about tonight. We know Giannis is going to be awesome. We don't know anybody else tonight what they're going to give you. But I would bet this, Brandon, We're talking about a guy who bounces back after a poor performance. I would bet this.
I want to bet it all.
Chris Middleton is better tonight than Devin Booker. And if that happens, the Suns have no chance. Because okay,
bet.
All right, fine. That's no problem. You already owe me a Jets helmet from Game 3. It has not yet been sent to me. Go ahead and send me the Jets helmet. You already owe a little bit, but we can add more to it.
Helmet.
Oh, that's right. You're right. You know what? You're right. You don't owe me the Jets helmet. You're right. I said I didn't want it. That is correct. That's correct. So I think that, Brandon, let me just put a pin on it in this real quick. I think the Suns can't win without Booker playing really well, but I don't think Booker playing really well by any means guarantees a Suns victory. I think Booker could score 30 and they still lose. So that's why I think the Suns are in a bad spot tonight, Brandon.
I said this last week. I mean, the short memory, that whole saying is supposed to be for players, not reporters, not analysts. Short-term memory. Have we not watched what this team have done all year in the playoffs? This team just ran through everybody. Now all of a sudden they lose one game to a team that they've beat 4 times out of 5 this year, and now we're saying, oh my goodness, the Bucks are unstoppable. Oh, Giannis, he's going to have 40 and they're going to win the game. Come on, please. Now, I do agree with you that Booker needs to step up because Booker is just not a guy. He is the guy. Booker needs to play better. He's been uncomfortable since his nose been broken. There's been 2 times since where he's been hitting his nose trying to get to the paint, and you can see him just holding it and looking uncomfortable and shaking up. I don't expect him not to come out. I don't expect him coming out and being soft. I expect him coming out and being aggressive. Here's the deal with Booker. Booker is a guy. What do I mean by that? There's some dudes, they don't want the flair. They don't want the lights. What they do is, oh, we're walking in. I don't want the cameras. Let me go in the back. Please, security, take me around the back. I just don't need the attention. He is seeking it. Guys like that come in dressed up, driving up with the old school cars, the 64 Chevys and the 70 Donks and 7 Trey Donks and all of that with the ivory slim fitted suits. He wants the attention. He wants to be on the stage. So he's absolutely going to embrace this moment, Wilds. Like, I don't see him fading. He's just been uncomfortable, and he knows right now he needs to step up and deliver, not only for his team, but CP3's over like, brother, I didn't come this far to lose. We are the better team, and you know that. Now, Wilds, the last thing I would say here is one of the things that we got to take into consideration is that trio, that big 3 over there with the Bucks, that was the best game they've ever had together all year. We're talking about efficient points. We're talking about shooting percentages. That was the best they have played all year. I don't see that happening again.
Okay, I buy it.
There it is, right there.
They throw it up late. Think it's a savvy
talk
move.
Over that for me.
If they could. I will. They played well, and I think you have a point that Devin Booker would probably play well if they could transport that car that he drove to Phoenix to Milwaukee. I don't think it's a bad idea. You park it in the hotel garage, you drive it around to Fiserv Stadium or whatever it's called. I think that would be a solid move. Broussard, here's why I think Devin Booker can also have a great move, a great game. I think Monty Williams' move to bench him for the entire 4th quarter was so unconventional and without precedent in the finals when you're benching your superstar, a young superstar with, only at that point, this were 11 quarters of experience, finals experience. To make a move that unconventional and strange and a gamble, I think that it's got to pay off. I think Monty Williams knows something that we don't. Monty Williams knows that this is the way to motivate him, to prepare us for a big game in Game 4. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. There's plenty of little moves he could have done to rest him. Play 5 minutes if it gets out of hand. But the fact that he sat him for the whole time, I have faith that the move was so weird and unconventional that it's going to pay dividends.
I do agree that a guy like Devin Booker, who wants to be Kobe Bryant, who fashions his mentality after Kobe's Mamba mentality, he doesn't only want to bounce back because he played poorly. He also wants to bounce back because of perception, whether Monty really benched him or not. The perception is out there that he got benched. So I agree with you, Wiles. He wants to come back and play well. And, Nick, that's a great stat about Drew Holiday. But the problem that the Bucks have been facing is that pick and roll, Drew is not always going to be on Booker. They're going to get mismatches where bigs or anymore. Drew can't get over the screen in time, whatever. But here's what I think happens. I do think Booker comes back with a nice game. I'm going to say about 25, 26 points. But I think Milwaukee wins tonight. Milwaukee evens the series at 2 games apiece, and then the Suns ended in the Valley. Well,
and can we show can we 40 but remember 45% chance Milwaukee wins, Gordon Broussard. That's not a hedge, it's just statistical fact. Can we show the Bucks big 3 stat that Brandon had again? Because here's the thing about that. Brandon's right about, as a collective, how good they were. But that is kind of like saying Patrick Mahomes and I combined for 38 touchdowns last year. It's true, but one guy did all the work. The reason the collective was so great was because Giannis was spectacular, Drew was good. Middleton, 18 points on 42% shooting is not good for Middleton. Middleton is due for an excellent game. And for the Bucks' big 3, because Giannis is producing like 2 people, they only need one of Middleton or Drew to play well. You don't need all 3 of them to play well offensively. You only need one of Drew or Middleton to play well, Brandon, because Giannis is going to give you the production of a player and a half.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Nick. They've played 5 times. And guess what? Giannis has
I don't care about the regular season games. I don't care about.
You don't care about regular season games?
Regular season games were close, too.
Brandon,
those were
because the first game, Drew Holiday didn't play, and the second game, Giannis got hurt. And they were 1-point victories. I don't care about it.
Okay, I'll take that. Well, holler at me after this game, all right? Matter of fact, I'm going to be tweeting you all game. We're going to be going back and forth.
That's fine.
Jenna, our resident historian, he wants to use the numbers and the stats when it benefits his takes. But guess what? It does matter. Giannis averaged 41 points.
When it doesn't benefit my case, I don't care about
Jenna, last thing.
I'm an eye test guy.
In game 3s.
Yeah, go ahead.
In game 3s. The Suns are 1-3 this postseason. Any other game, they're 13-2. Tomorrow, we're going to be cheering. Suns. Let's go. Suns in 5, baby.
All right, I'm excited for it.
All right, well, you don't want to talk Ravens. Suns, by the way, have only lost 2 in a row once this postseason. It was way back in round 1 against the Lakers, so let's see how they respond. Game 4 of the finals, featured on the free-to-play Fox Bet Super 6 app. Scan the QR code, download the app, answer 6 questions, do all those things, and you got a shot to win $1,000. I just did it. Might do it again. Set the finals aside for now. Talk some Kawhi Leonard. He had successful knee surgery yesterday, but what does it mean for his future? When might we see him back? We'll discuss next. First things first.
Brutal.
Back here, first things first with Chris Broussard. We're talking Kawhi Leonard. We learned yesterday Kawhi had surgery to repair a partially torn ACL tear in his right knee. Kawhi was injured in the 4th quarter during Game 4 of the Western Semis. Missed the Clips' final 8 playoff games after that. And now, no timetable set for his return. Although the thinking is perhaps maybe into next season. Nick, start with you. What does this mean for Kawhi's future?
Well, it 100% will be into next season. I think the only question is how deep into it. Historically speaking, a partial tear of his ACL return, if it's a typical recovery time, would put him back in December, late December. If it's the recovery time guys take typically from a full-blown ACL, it's April, and that's the playoffs. And we know Kawhi, with good reason, has always been, let's call it, very judicious with his rehab and his body. And so, Broussard, I suppose the one silver lining here for the Clippers is this takes the chance that he opts out and signs elsewhere down to close to 0%. But the more important part of it is probably year 1 of Kawhi and Paul George ended in failure. Year 2 of Kawhi and Paul George ended in disappointment, mostly, I think people feel, due to injury. And year 3, they are going to be in a dogfight to make the playoffs if he is out for the majority of the year. And so you can't write the year off as a whole as of yet, but I think if you're a Clippers fan, this is devastating news, like flatly. And I think it puts them, you look around the Western Conference and you're like, okay, so Phoenix isn't going anywhere. The Lakers will be better. I would imagine Dallas is on the upswing. Golden State will be back in some form or fashion. Denver gets Jamal Murray back. I hesitate to even include Utah, but they'll at least be a good regular season team. Like who is falling backwards? Portland maybe if they have to trade Dame, but it gets tough quick out west. I think this is a heartbreaking news if you're a Clippers fan.
All right, Nick, there's a lot to unpack there because a lot of people, when you said they'll struggle to make the playoffs, people are probably initially saying, hold on, they beat Utah twice without Kawhi. They played Phoenix tough without Kawhi. But here's what people may not realize. They're going to have a heck of a time bringing back Reggie Jackson. They can only start him
Correct.
at $10 million a year. And so if they lose Reggie Jackson, who was their second best player in the playoffs, now you are looking at a different team. So, yeah, without Kawhi, it's going to be tough. And as you said, it could be 6 months. Spencer Dinwiddie, same injury and surgery, was ready to play or cleared by doctors after 6 months. Rajon Rondo, now back a few years, 2013, he missed a full year almost. 11 months with the same injury. So he's going to be somewhere in there. But to your point, Kawhi takes a while. Here's what I want to say. Let's look at this situation from 3 different perspectives. First, if I'm another team, okay, let's say Kawhi opts out thinking, hey, Kevin Durant was on an Achilles injury, and he still got the max deal. Kawhi Leonard is different from Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant had injuries, but not like Kawhi. He didn't have mysterious injuries where you wondered, is he really hurt? How hurt is he? He just had injuries where he had to sit out. So there was no doubt that he would come back and be fine. Kawhi has been injury prone. He's only played more than 70 games 2 times his 10-year career. He hasn't played more than 60 games in the last 4 years. I said it, Nick, a while ago. He's an old 30. And so if I'm another team, I'm going to be honest. I'm not throwing the max at Kawhi Leonard if he opted out this summer. Because I can't guarantee he's going to come back and be a superstar who plays 70 games a season. Now, if I'm Kawhi, I think he wanted to stay with the Clippers anyway. But now I'm saying to the Clippers, let's go ahead and do this long-term deal. All right, I'm going to opt out and let's do the long-term deal. Or I'm going to opt in, give me the extension, let's get that money settled. I'm here, let's build it. All right, if I'm the Clippers, the third perspective, I'm hoping that Kawhi Leonard opts in. I'm hoping he opts in and out of fear says, okay, let me just make this $36 million and then get my max money after this deal, show I'm back. And I'm the Clippers. I want to watch him. I want to watch the rehab. I want to see how hard he's working. I want to see where his mental is at. I want to watch this when he comes back. What's he look like before he comes back? I want to see, or when he comes back, I want to see all of that before I extend him. Clippers are in a tough position because if Kawhi opts out and wants them to sign him long term, that is a risk.
That's a risk. Yeah, I mean, heck, yeah, and you know his mindset, his mentality. Kawhi's the type of dude, say, if I don't get what I want, I might be sitting in that $20 million home on the beach just waiting for somebody else to call. Like, I'm okay. He is okay. Look, it sucks. This is brutal news. And if you're a Clippers fan, if you're in that organization, this is bittersweet. It's bittersweet because, you know, Kawhi's not going anywhere. So that's the sweet part. He's not going anywhere. He can't go anywhere. When you're hurt and you're injured, your value is at its lowest point. Nobody else wants you. The only team that's going to accept you is the team that you're already on. So that's the sweet part. The bitter part is this. It's over. You know, we're talking about a guy, like you said, Chris, old 30. We're at 26, 27, he was embracing load management. We're talking about his mindset, how he takes care of his body, and he's sensitive to, like, I can't come back until I'm 100%. But here's the thing as an aging player. You're going to be strong. Your muscles are still there. So the hardware, the muscles, the structure is there. But when you start having injuries and when you start having surgeries, all you're working on is the software. When you see Tom Brady working out, posting their videos, or even LeBron James, they're on Bosey balls, they're doing bands. You don't see them, workout after workout, lifting weights. That doesn't matter anymore. All they're trying to do is maintain. Every day when you wake up as a player, all you're trying to do is make sure, let me make sure this quad is on. I got to make sure this quad is firing because that's going to take pressure off of my knee. That's what they're doing. So that is the trick. That is the name of the game. So now you got Kawhi Leonard, who's already dealing with things. He's already having knee issues. And when you start having more injuries and more surgeries, other things start to run up the chain or down the chain. Ankles, hips, lower back. So this is going to be interesting. Is he going to go back to embracing load management? Well, as a player too, you also start thinking like, how do I get to my goal? 4 more years, 5 more years, 6 more years. That's in his head now. So this is a bittersweet moment for the Clippers. I don't see them competing at a high level anymore.
All right, I think he would 100% should have embraced load management if this issue never even happened. Everyone got up in arms because stars started to miss some nationally televised game, and then the league had to come down and start fining people. It's a bunch of hogwash. I think after the pendulum has swung back now, especially after LeBron's tweet, like, hey, I told you guys we need to expand, either take more days off or extend All-Star or whatever have you. So I think the idea of the league, fans, or management in the NBA complaining about load management is DOA. It's done. I think players are going to trend more towards Brassard. It is. It's just the way it is. I know. When we were growing up, Michael Jordan played 82 games after 36 holes of golf, and he would bring his golf club actually onto the thing. Like, it just doesn't matter. It's just not the way we are. It's the same way pitchers in 1900 used to pitch 36 innings. Oh, that's a fair point. I'm sure there's some science. That's actually not. Maybe.
Adam Silver said that. Adam Silver said that. Look at the low management.
You're the guy who wants to cut the season down. I know, but Chris, you were talking about cutting the season down. So that's a version. So basically, the league is not going to do it, but so Kawhi can do it himself.
Hold on. You just said Adam Silver said. Adam Silver doesn't strap it up. He doesn't lace it up. He doesn't know what the body feels after traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast after you play back-to-backs. He doesn't understand, you're dehydrated, the swelling in the joints when you're flying or just playing on that surface night after night after night. So I hear what you're saying. I think there's a better way to get this done. That's a lot of wear and tear on these guys' body. We're talking about month after month, game after game. They need to figure this out because that is a lot of wear and tear. Other teams, other sports are embracing sports science. I know it's at the individual level as far as from one organization to the other organization, but load management is important. I know NFL, we only play 16 games. All right, we have 1 game a week, but when you play on Sunday, and you're like a 26, 27, 28-year-old starter, and you're playing 60, 70 plays, and you're getting 60, 70 reps, you don't recover until Wednesday, Thursday. And then when you get older, you're hitting about your 30s, you're not even full speed until Friday. We call them Fast Friday. So there's something to this, and they need to really take their time and get this right.
All right, here's what we do know. The Clippers will be without Kawhi when training camp gets underway late September. We'll see how much longer after that. Let's get back to the NBA Finals now. Have the Suns figured out a plan to slow down the Greek Freak tonight? We'll discuss next. First things first. Thank you, Broussard. Shift gears, talk some football now. We got a list to break down. Today, we're talking running backs. Top 10 running backs headed into this season. This according to a recent poll of executives and scouts and players and coaches. And to the surprise of not many, Back-to-back rushing king Derrick Henry at the top, followed by, check it out, you got Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Christian McCaffrey. Then the NFC East pair of Saquon and Zeke. You got Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, and Josh Jacobs rounding it out. All right, Brandon, you were all in on Derrick Henry for MVP last year. What is your biggest takeaway from this list?
Oof. Oh, I love these lists. Look, let's start with 5, 6, 7. You have McCaffrey coming back from injury. He dealt with a lot last year. That ankle, that's a guy that can easily be, the top running back in the NFL. You got 6, you got Barkley. It feels like Barkley, like it's time. Like, this is his moment. It might be that Adrian Peterson moment where he came off that ACL and then he went for 2,000 yards. He exploded. Barkley, Saquon, we all know the greatness there. Hopefully they can put it all together. They're going to need him to get it done in New York because they have exactly what they need in a running back position, and he has to be able to help that quarterback. And then you look at Zeke. There's an argument that Zeke he's not even deserving of being on this list after the year he had. But Zeke is a dude that can get it done. I'm looking for him to bounce back. Number 2, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, he shouldn't even be on this list at all. And I'm not saying that because he's not better than these guys. I'm saying it because this is not his position. Alvin Kamara is a playmaker. That's why he's paid the way he gets paid. He gets paid like a wide receiver. This dude is an athlete. He's that good. Number 1. All right, here we go. The NFL will get it right after this year. The NFL, after the year he's about to have, they're going to change the way we approach the MVP discussion or how we approach this award. He was supposed to be the MVP last year. There's only been a handful of guys in the history of this great game to go for over 2,000 yards. Like, that is hard to do. Just the war of attrition and staying on the field as a running back and doing it at that level should be he should have got an award for that alone. He'll be the first guy to have 2,000-yard seasons. He'll be the first guy, obviously, to do it back-to-back. I'm saying that right now. This dude is in his prime. They're doubling down on him. Wow. You got Julio Jones. Julio Jones is going to force you to have 7 guys in the box. What are you going to do? You're going to play Julio one-on-one, and also you got AJ on the other side, AJ Brown. And now what you're going to do? Just let them go down the seams, down the sideline, streak routes, go routes? Is that what we're going to do? No. You better go double those guys, or you're going to get blown out fast. Tannehill is more than capable of throwing the ball down the field. So, yes, this dude is going to have an amazing year.
Well, before I dive into my thoughts on the list, I want to stay on Derrick Henry and go back to Brandon on something. Because, and by the way, as far as having back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, there is the extra game this year, so you could see a lot of those single-season records potentially broken or approached. Here's my question for you on Derrick Henry. When we were talking about Kawhi, we talked about load management in the body and how you feel. Derrick Henry, the last 2 years, regular season and playoffs, put it together, he's at nearly 800 carries. And we know in NFL history, it is an incredibly short list of running backs who have had that type of workload and not almost immediately seen a major drop-off. I think a lot of people thought he might have a drop-off this past year just from the workload of 2019. Instead, he was even better. How big of a concern is that for you, for Derrick? And if not, it doesn't seem like it is. I think he's going to go for 2,000 yards. Why isn't that a concern? Is it just because he is a one-of-one, like, super freak body type? Like, why? Because 1,200 carries over 3 years, you're talking unprecedented territory.
Right. Definitely one-of-one when it comes to body type. And when you watch him play, he picks and chooses when he wants to be the tough guy. You'll never see him take a big shot. And he does a phenomenal job of taking care of his legs. You never see guys just take his legs out. This dude is super smart and savvy. He's not just out there just a monster, bigger than everybody, faster than everybody. This dude takes care of himself on the field. And he also takes care of himself off the field. If you turn on Instagram or any social media platform, every other week you're going to see his videos. This dude is probably better than anybody at taking care of his body and staying locked in the offseason. This dude is in better shape now than he was last year. So when you think about it, yes, there's a lot of wear and tear on his body, just naturally, organically, all the mileage on his body. But he has another year or two to get it done. I'm telling you right now, this year is going to be a big year for him. And it's not just because of him, it's because of Julio Jones. Nick, do you understand what they have there? You have A.J. Brown, you have Julio Jones.
They can't put 8 in the box anymore. That's right.
You can't do it. Right. It's going to be bigger holes. It's going to be easy. If you do, you're just going to be gashed and quickly. The game will be over by halftime. So it has a lot to do with him and a lot to do with that Julio Jones acquisition. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting year.
I think it's a good point. And by the way, if we can show the full list, credit to this group of execs, coaches, scouts, and players for having a far better compilation than the quarterbacks list, which was just a disaster. Now, if you nits to pick, somebody voted Derrick Henry 6th. That person's fake vote here should be revoked. Somebody voted him the 6th best running back. That's ridiculous. Kamara. My only concern with Kamara is, and Brandon alluded to it, he's never rushed for 1,000 yards. So much of his production's in the passing game. How much is that going to be affected by either Jameis or a H-back playing quarterback for the Saints? I want to see that. Dalvin Cook may be underrated, actually. He had 1,500 yards, only 14 games. And then obviously McCaffrey and Saquon both coming off seasons marred by injury. But I think some people, Wilds, are going to be like, Zeke, too low. No, he's not. Like, it is, to me, very difficult, if not impossible, to make a case that Zeke should be higher than he is. I know he's got one of the best running back contracts, and he's maybe the most famous of all the running backs. He obviously plays for the most famous team. But those 6 guys ahead of him, to me, have clearly all surpassed him as far as the best running backs in football, Wilds.
Yeah, so I want to show you a comparison between Zeke and Jonathan Taylor, because I think one guy is overrated and one guy is underrated. Jonathan Taylor came out of Wisconsin. He didn't get drafted in the first round. I'm like, what is everybody doing? This guy's going to be great. Surprise, surprise. He had the 3rd most yards. He had average 5 yards. He only fumbled once. Zeke fumbled 5 times. He also had 200 receiving yards when supposedly the knock on him was that he had bad hands. He played great. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor? Because I think it mirrors a little bit with what I think is an upgrade from Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be one of the beneficiaries of that as well. Maybe because Wentz just sort of like opens up the offense, or just worst case scenario, he's a little bit nervous and needs a little safety valve so you can have Jonathan Taylor just flare out and catch some more balls. What do you think about Jonathan Taylor this year?
Jonathan Taylor is a bad boy. And Wiles, I'm so glad that you brought him up. There's so many people. When we put these lists together, it's hard because there's so much talent in the NFL, and there's some guys that you just overlook, you just forget about. We do it at every position, whether it's quarterback, wide receiver, defensive line. We just do it time and time again. This is a dude. They didn't even start leaning on him until probably halfway through the year. Now, of course, they was giving him the ball, but it wasn't until halfway through the year, Wiles, where they said, this is our identity. This is what makes our offense go. Play good defense and give it to him. This team's going to be a really good team, and I know it's a little too early. We call it early predictions, but I'm telling you, Nick, you better watch out for these guys and Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz will have a bounce-back year.
Yeah, you're now with the Carson Wentz thing as well. I was going to give Wilds a pass on the little Carson Wentz is going to be an upgrade on Phillip Rivers thing. Based on what?
You like Phillip Rivers now?
I give Wilds credit. He was I don't like Phillip Rivers. I also don't like Carson Wentz. I was going to try to give you credit because you were early on Jonathan Taylor. Now that's because your better half is a Badger, so you're a Badger fan by marriage, and so you watched him a lot. And you were right about Jonathan Taylor, but the Colts. The idea that the Colts, they got a huge question mark at quarterback. But can we put up that Jonathan Taylor Zeke graphic again? Because I'm much more interested in the Zeke side of it. That's jarring. And when, Zeke's first year in the league, he had 1,600 yards. His second year, he had around 1,000, but remember, he missed the 6 games because of the suspension. And then he was like 1,400, and then it was 1,100. And now he played all year, Brandon, basically. Barely got into the end zone. 4 yards per carry is like what you need as a break-even proposition. Let me ask you this. I'm going to put you in a tough spot here because you didn't know I was going to ask you this. What do you think is more likely? That Zeke has a 1,500-yard season or that Zeke has a 900-yard season?
Ooh, I would say 900-yard season, but not because of Zeke, though, Nick. Zeke right now, he's leaner, and that was part of the problem. Zeke is taking care of himself. If you go back to last year, he came in looking like James Harden. I don't know what the hell was going on in Texas, but he had a big belly, okay? Now he's in shape. He's been slapped in the face. He knows he needs to do better. A part of his struggle, too, outside of, and Lyles, you alluded to this, is the fumbles. Like I think those 5 fumbles came in like the first 5 games, it felt like. But the offensive line was beat down. So he has a healthier offensive line. They're better. That was a new offense. So he had to make adjustment. That's tough for players, especially on the offensive side when you change up your system. You're so used to, doing things one way. He was in the same offense his entire career. But the reason why he won't have 1,500 yards is because they have 3 guys that are number 1 wide receivers. And you have Dak. Dak was throwing for almost 400 yards a game. Think about that. Before, they were losing and they were turning the ball over, but they were the most explosive offense, and that was through the air. So that's why, Nick, I'm leaning more towards the 900 and not towards the 1,500.
And I do think if you're, if you're going to have Zeke on your fantasy team, or you're a Cowboys fan, or you're just a big fan of cereal and you love Zeke, I do think one of the reasons to be bullish of his possibilities of having a good year is some of the same stuff Brandon was saying with the Titans. And keep in mind that last year, once Dak goes out, and it was the red rifle in at quarterback for the Cowboys, every team's game plan was stop Zeke. He's going to get much more favorable looks this year, Jenna. They're going to be much more afraid of the passing game, so that should help him. Sure. But there's a long list of running backs who in their best years of their career were their first 4 years of their career. It wouldn't be an outlier if Zeke's highest production, Brandon, was, that rookie contract. And then after that, it was kind of living off the reputation. We've seen a lot of guys like that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know who the Jets running back is, but he should probably be on this list as well. I'm going to ask Siri, who's the Jets running back, but I'm sure he's going to have a big year, too. We got to start talking more about my Jets.
Running back. All right, we will, because I'm sure at any given moment you got a Jets helmet. About 6 inches away from you on either side. Back setting the table one more time for tonight's Game 4. Can the Suns slow down the Greek Freak, take control of the series? We discuss. But first, Tom Brady poking fun at his old Patriot pals.
You ready, Welker?
Let's go!
Go! Nice catch, Wesley!
Throw, Tommy.
You ready, Edelman?
You already know!
Go! Nice catch, Jules! You ready, Amendola?
Yes, sir!
Go! Yeah! Go, Nola! Where you at, Gronk? Let's go!
Oh, in just 2 nights, the long-anticipated wait is over. The fans return to SmackDown on Fox. The superstars of WWE and Kevin Wildes will finally get a chance to hear the roar of the crowds for the first time in a year and a half. Live from the Toyota Center in Houston, it's Friday Night SmackDown, 8 Eastern.
I would like to see Wildes be a promoter. Wildes, you should be a promoter.
Wildes could do it. He's got that in him. I don't know what the skill set for that would be. We're back setting the table for tonight's NBA Finals Game 4. So all eyes on Giannis as he goes for a 3rd straight 40-point performance. Suns going to have to figure out a way to slow him down if they've got any hopes of going up 3-1. So, Nick, it's a simple question. Who wins Game 4 tonight in Milwaukee, Suns or Bucks?
Bucks easily. For some reason, we don't have a lot of close games lately in these NBA playoffs, and I think tonight's going to be no exception. The Bucks are going to win because we know Giannis will be great. I am confident Middleton will have a bounce-back game. And let's just go over this series thus far. Game 1, Phoenix wins. Why? Well, in large part, held Giannis to 20. How'd you do that? Well, you had him hyperextend his knee 7 days prior, and he clearly wasn't fully himself yet, didn't have his wind yet, wasn't exactly right. But game 2, Giannis scored 40. How did Phoenix win that game? Well, some will say it's because Drew and Middleton both played poorly. That's part of it. But despite Drew and Middleton both shooting poorly, that was a 6-point game with 5 minutes left when Pat Connaughton missed a wide-open 3, despite the fact that Phoenix in that game had an all-time shooting performance. What do I mean by all-time? They made 23s and they shot 50% from 3. That's happened 16 times in playoff history. Teams that do it are, not shockingly, 15-1. So no, I don't think they're going to do that again. What I think is more likely is what we saw in game 3, where Giannis once again dominates. He just needs one of his supporting actors to be good. Not even great, just good. And the defense will be there because while, Brandon, everyone mocked Coach Bud for saying play random, the playing random defensively has worked. It has thrown off Phoenix somewhat. It has clearly bothered Devin Booker because he doesn't know what looks he's going to get. And post game 1, Chris Paul has not exploded. So for all those reasons and the fact that Milwaukee has been a dominant home team these playoffs, I think Milwaukee wins, and I think they even up the series.
So it sounds like you're a Coach Bud fan now. You like the adjustments. You've been on them since last year in the bubble. So you're a fan now.
I think he's done a good job in this series. I think he's done a good job. Yeah, I do. I give credit where it's due. I think he's done a good job in this series.
Listen, Nick, I respect you because before the series started, you said they'll lose game 1, they'll lose game 2, they'll win game 3. You actually said there's zero chance the Suns winning game 3. That has happened. You have them winning the series. There's so many other people that they didn't call it that way. So I respect you for that. But, buddy, please, man, the Suns are the better team. The Suns get it done tonight. In all their game 3s, they're in the postseason, they're 1-3 in game 3s. They're 13-2 any other game. They are clearly the better team. The Greek, the Freak, yes, I said it. The Greek, the Freak, he's going to have a phenomenal game. He won't have 40. But he's going to get his easy 30, he's going to get his easy 10, easy 12, easy 15. Doesn't matter. That trio played the best game they've ever had together all year. Yes, he only had 18 in Middleton. Middleton only had 18 points, but he was 42%. We had Drew Holiday, 21 points, but he was like 57% or something from the field. Or 50, yeah, there you go. And then Giannis, we know what Giannis did. That's not happening again. And then on the other side, you have Booker struggling. Booker is not just a guy. He is the guy. Booker's going to have a bounce-back game. He's the type of player, Wilds, that embrace these moments. He's the type of guy that's like, you know what? I'm looking for this because this is going to add to my legend. This is going to add to who Devin Booker will be how you guys will talk about me for the rest of my life. So he's going to bounce back. And Ayton's not going to foul out. Ayton fouled out in the damn first quarter, in my mind. That's not happening again. And CP3 will be aggressive. This series will be over in 5, like I said before the series.
All right, Brandon, I think you touched on it. I think that this game is going to be decided in the first 10 minutes. And first we'll talk about Booker. The fact that Monty Williams, Nick, pulled such an unconventional move and benched a max player, a budding superstar, when he very early into sort of his playoff finals career, the guy had only played 11 quarters. He's like, hey, can I play my 12th quarter? Like, nope, sit on the bench. I think the move was so unconventional and just straight up weird that we have to trust that Monty Williams, who has made brilliant decisions, and we've seen great leadership from him since he got this job, knows something that we don't, and knows that Devin Booker is going to come out and have an explosive game. Also, we're going to see a little bit of Chris Paul's leadership and just a constant, steady stream of passes and pick and rolls to get Devin Booker open, get him rolling. I could see a monster game from him. And then he touched on Ayton. On the other side of the ball, can we show my graphic here? The Bucks are going to do everything they can, Brandon, to get Ayton in trouble. And I know, like, it's hard to stop Giannis, but Ayton's like, hey, you know what? I am the best at it. If the Bucks can get Ayton in trouble, and I think it's their main strategy, offensively and defensively, let's get this guy on the bench, then I think the Bucks will win. Now, Nick, the question is this. If Ayton does get in early foul trouble, does Monty Williams just not, take him out? Does Monty Williams like, no, we're just going to ride him here and just keep rolling because we know your strategy is to hurt him, out of the game.
So that's an interesting point. No, of course, right, to go after him. That's an interesting point that Van Gundy, to his credit, brings up a lot during broadcasts, which is sometimes coaches cut off their nose to spite their face when it comes to this foul trouble stuff. You take a player out because you're worried about him fouling out, but you are de facto fouling him out yourself by removing him once he has foul trouble. And I also think we know, particularly in playoff games, referees know how many fouls a guy has. And what would get you your first foul probably won't get you your fifth foul and definitely won't get you your sixth foul. Referees are hesitant to foul guys out, and so you get a little more wiggle room there. Now, officiating has been a story of this series. Bud brought it up after game 1, even if he didn't bring it up enough. Monty Williams brought it up after game 3. Here's the deal, though, on it. The Suns, this regular season, 29th in the NBA in free throw rate. The Suns, this postseason, 16 out of 16 in the league in free throw rate. Why? They're a finesse jump shooting team. They don't get fouls because they don't go to the rim. Aside from Ayton, everything they do is on the outside. The Bucks, on the other hand, are just going to attack. And by the way, the Suns want to foul Giannis. They're not doing hack a Giannis, but they would rather send him to the line and see if he can get it going. So I expect a big foul disparity again tonight, Brandon, but it doesn't mean it was officiated unfairly. It's just two two different styles. It's just two different styles of play.
Let's fix the order. Let's go back to last Friday. So you messed up the order. You said, well, Bud, he came out and said something. Then Coach Monty came out and said something. No, that's not the order. Bud said something. Then you came out and you said something. Bud needs to do this. These fouls and this. They need to use the whistle. Use the whistle. And then all of a sudden, the next game, Giannis takes 17 trips to the free throw line, and then you have the Suns as an entire team, 16. So let's fix the order there. Okay, that's first and foremost.
Stop being so finesse. But go to the hoop.
Okay, but I just want to make sure that sports politics play the game in it. You came out here, used your platform, you called for the refs, and they did what they were supposed to do. All right, so we'll see what happens with Monty, because Monty came out and said, look, I'm not trying to make this a thing, but so we'll see what happens there. Look, Nick, I'm sorry, bro, but look, Giannis, he'll have his 30, 35 points. But when you look at it, who's the better coach? Monty. Trio. Who's the better trio? You got the Suns.
I don't know if I agree with that.
So I understand. They're the better team.
I don't know if I agree on the better trio.
Really?
Yeah, really. I think, listen, I think the gap, as much as I love Chris Paul, the gap in this series between Giannis and Chris Paul is more substantial than the gap between Booker and Middleton. And I think when all in, Drew and DeAndre Ayton have similar impacts. Listen, there are times, Wilds, in NBA history where we don't always know it while it's happening, but it becomes obvious after the fact. When it's like, oh, that's when this guy took over the league. That's what this series is going to be for Giannis Antetokounmpo. The 40 he scored in Game 2 and the 40 he scored in Game 3, he's going to do something similar tonight, and we're going to be tied up at 5 going into Phoenix.
Milo's.
Bet whatever you
Milo's
want.
dinner.
I'm down with it. I've already.
Milo's.
All right, Milo's dinner. No problem.
2 orders of the octopus.
Done. Bet made.
That's going to do it for us.
No problem.
Enjoy it tonight. Much more in the game coming up on Undisputed. Have a great day.